What's going on, fight fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. Gonna be going and giving my recap of this past UFC Apex event that literally just got done finished. Not a lot of names, not a lot of stuff to be able to talk about, and it started off pretty horrendously. But it moved along pretty well as it could for a UFC Apex event, how it usually goes down. But it started off with an actual banger with Charles Johnson versus Ramazan Tamarov. Not gonna lie, I do think he was the rightful winner. I think Ramazan did do the better work in the first two rounds compared to Charles Johnson. I think he just outdid him and out tit for tat him on the feet. In the third round, Charles Johnson 100% came out with his head on fire and tried to be able to look for that finish. Was doing great alongside the fence with the body work, with the combinations, throwing the teep to the body, getting the leg kicks going. But throughout the entirety of the first two rounds, I think Ramazan just did enough with his speed to be able to get past Charles Johnson, who was in the rankings. So maybe now Ramazan is going to be in the rankings as of right now. Maybe just barely in, maybe 14 or 15 around there. But Charles Johnson, man, tough. He thought he actually did pull off the win. He definitely won that third round. He made it really close in the first two, but I just think, again, Ramazan Tamarov just did enough in those first two rounds, mix it up well to be able to get those first two rounds. Moving on up the card, we have Andrea Lee versus J.J. Aldrich. It was a typical run-of-the-mill, disgusting WMMA fight that we unfortunately had the ability to be able to watch because we have eyes. J.J. Aldrich came out with a dub because Andrea Lee just continued to kick for some odd reason. She just decided that she was just going to kick and not throw any type of punches. She did now here and then, and J.J. Aldrich did very well with her countering and was effective with that. But she didn't put out a lot of output in this fight. This fight was disgusting to watch, and I was unfortunate enough to be able to watch it. But she pulled off the victory because she just countered better, and she just didn't be. She wasn't stupid, and she just didn't throw kicks out there like a dummy. Moving on up the card, we had Danny Silva versus Lucas Almeida. Danny Silva getting a nice victory. He pulled off, rightly so, the first two rounds. Did well enough to be able to just edge over Lucas Almeida. He was making Lucas look really bad, honestly, in the dirty boxing range, right into that clinch area. He did enough to be able to pull off in those first two rounds. In that last round, Lucas Almeida came out really, really strong and finished really well. Kind of, with Danny Silva starting to fade, having all that output that he was throwing out there. But he did enough to be able to get the win. It was a close victory. I don't think it should have been that close because I think Lucas Almeida was definitely getting his ass whooped those first two rounds. But Danny Silva, he came out and he did what he needed to be able to do. And moving on up the card, we had Ricardo Ramos versus Chepe Mariscal. I don't know why this guy is still getting unranked opponents, but finally he should be able to get somebody that's in the rankings as of right now. Chepe Mariscal has been in an absolute tear on a roll. And he just dismantles Ricardo Ramos. There's many times, especially in the second and third round, where I thought that he was going to get him out of there. But shout out to Ricardo Ramos. He has an absolute chin on him and has a lot of heart and determination to be able to continue to get a beating on his ass. But, I mean, he did exactly what he could. I mean, Ricardo Ramos had a couple of moments where he could have landed some nasty, little fancy elbow here and there, but he didn't. So he didn't hurt Chepe. But Chepe Mariscal, man, he did what he usually always does, mixes it in very well. It's pretty dirty in with the clinch area game with his striking. Has enough power to be able to hurt somebody and is finally getting somebody up in the rankings. And moving on up the card, we had Austin Lane versus Mario Pinto. And finally, for God's sake, we get a finish. And what a damn finish did we get. Austin Lane actually looked pretty decent on the feet. It's kind of impressive to say. I mean, he's been fighting for quite some time, so you would expect him to look some type of good. He has some type of athleticism, has the background in football and this and this and that. He gets clipped early by a nice shot by Mario Pinto. But then he comes back and he actually drops Mario Pinto in the first round, so he has a lot of confidence going into that second round, and just comes out guns blazing, just walking Mario Pinto down. He's just throwing in combinations with his chin up in the air, and finally Mario Pinto hits home with a beautiful 1-2 right down the pipe, lays Austin Lane out cold, flat out cold on the canvas. It was beautiful to see that man laid out with his eyes glazed over, looking at the lights ahead above him. He probably thought he was in heaven. It was absolutely tremendous. KO of the night. Thank God we actually got one. Finally, we're ending the streak of not having KOs on this card. And speaking of KOs, moving on up the card, we had Danny Barlow versus Sam Patterson. And right as we had no finishes at all throughout the entirety of the card so far, it was only 10 fights, so it wasn't that big of a card. But Sam Patterson gets a first round TKO over Danny Barlow, which I think Danny in the Southpaw stance. There was a lot of Southpaw versus Orthodox going on in this card, actually. Pretty good matchmaking on the UFC side. I think Danny Barlow was giving a lot of problems to Sam Patterson, and he was actually piecing him up pretty well until he just got caught with a nasty right hand, being so overconfident and overzealous, trying to be able to just throw in combination and think that nothing's going to come his way. And Sam Patterson catches him nasty with a right hand, stuns him, hits him with another right hand, wobbles him, then hits him right like on the side of the chin, like kind of on the button, like on the jaw. Gets him down, gets the TKO finish with the ground and pound. Very good outing for Sam Patterson. Looking up for him in the prospect against Danny Barlow, a dude that was actually giving him some type of issues on the feet. And moving on up the card, we had Hyder Emil versus William Gomez. I'm actually really impressed out of this performance out of Hyder Emil, who gets the victory over William Gomez, who's a very good and slick kickboxing striker. He really has all the tools to be able to stop and pull out of it, especially in that first round. I think William Gomez did enough. He outpointed Hyder Emil, but Hyder Emil just has this fight style where he's like a literal zombie. Like, he looks like he's trying to go after Rick Grimes out of there. It is absolutely insane. He just continues to walk forward, and he has no qualms about anything. He's just going to continue to walk down unless you hit him in the head with like a brick or like a lead pole. He's not going to go anywhere. So, I mean, shout out to Hyder Emil. He literally broke William Gomez in that second round. You started to see William Gomez just start to deteriorate more and more as a fighter. Didn't really have much more into him to be able to give in terms of like that heart and determination, but he still was in there trying to fight. So I think that second round went to Hyder Emil, and the third round as well, where it was very competitive between the two. I just think Hyder Emil, with his pace and pressure, just keeping in the face of William Gomez, it was just too much for William Gomez to be able to handle. Even though I do think that William Gomez was outlanding him, was having the cleaner work between the two. Hyder Emil, while it was very sloppy and disgusting to look at because the technique was terrible, he just did more. I mean, he landed. I don't even want to say that he landed more or he did more. He just broke William Gomez. It's literally what he did to win the fight. He broke him. He landed nice shots in close range with the dirty boxing, landing some mid-side low kicks and outside kicks as well. So yeah, Hyder Emil stays undefeated. Somehow he is undefeated with the style that he continues to have. But unless you got like a goddamn baseball bat in your hands, you're not going to beat him. This is the only way you're going to beat Hyder Emil. And moving on up the card, we have Nasrat Haqparast versus Esteban Rivovic. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. In my opinion, the two judges out of the three got it wrong. Nasrat in the first round definitely looked a lot more fresher, a lot more better on the feet, was pot-shotting a lot better, was doing a lot more better work, looked a lot more crisper, quicker in and out compared to Esteban Rivovic, making him look a lot more slower than what he actually is. But then you move into the second round. Yeah, Nasrat was actually picking his shots well than what he was doing in the first round, but he was doing it a lot less. I think the pace and pressure, what Esteban Rivovic, especially the output, just continuing to just throw punches, be active, outland and outpoint, in my opinion, Nasrat in that fight. I think he did a little bit more, but if you want the cleaner, more countery, cleaner shots, if you want to say, I guess you can go with Nasrat. But in that third round, it showed that sign to me that Nasrat was definitely slowing down. Esteban continue on with the pressure, continue on with the output, just continued being in Nasrat's face and really just put on a pressure on him. Landed that nasty knee inside the clinch, that little step in knee that was beautiful right on the face of Nasrat. Bloodied him up. Then he landed the head kick towards the end of the fight where he really looked stumbled and he was hurt really bad towards the end of that fight. So yeah, I would have gave that fight, in my opinion, to Esteban Rivovic, in my opinion. But Nasrat got the dub. And moving on to the co-main event, we had Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. And for the beginning of this fight, it was just looking like Cody Brundage is going to do exactly what he wanted to do throughout this entire fight, as long as it was going to go. But Julian Marquez then decided to nut up a little bit, landed a few nice shots on Cody Brundage's chin, started to turn the tides his way. Cody Brundage then actually hurts Julian Marquez with a couple of shots, and then all of a sudden, Julian Marquez just unloads his nasty right hand over the top, knocks the mouth guard out of Cody Brundage. And Cody Brundage is on the ropes. He is hurt. He looks damn near out of there. A few more landed nice clean shots by Julian Marquez, and he's going to get him out of there for sure. Lands a nice knee. Lands a couple combinations to the shot. But again, the referee, man. The referee, what are you doing, brother? You literally cost this guy a win. Maybe his career, his contract in the UFC. Who knows if they might cut Julian Marquez after this. He stops the exchanges. While he stops the exchanges, gets the mouth guard in for Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage then takes a couple more punishing shots and then lands this nasty overhand right shot that turns the tide his way. Now Julian Marquez is on the ropes. He's hurt badly. Couple more shots landed on Julian Marquez. He's on the ground just like trying to, like, he's all flustered, not knowing what the hell is going to go on. Doesn't really know what he has to do to be able to get back, to get his bearings back, because this round is about to finish. But even though it's about to finish, he is hurt like hell. Cody Brundage then gets the stop his finish win over Julian Marquez. It was actually a little bit of a barn burner between these two guys for as long as it did go. But man, that referee really, like, he really screwed over Julian Marquez. He might have money on Cody Brundage on this fight. But Cody Brundage, man, comes out on top against Julian Marquez in this victory. Kind of like how it should have went. But, man, it was actually a firefight for as long as it went. Now, moving on to the main event, we had Manel Kape versus Asu Alamabayev. And, man, this was just Manel Kape's world, and we're just living in it, man. He literally did anything that he wanted to be able to do is on the feet with Asu. Asu tried to be able to get some takedowns here and there, but he wasn't able to really implement anything in terms of the grappling. Everything got shut down in terms of that by Manel Kape in that first round. Manel Kape with the feints, with the movement. He was just styling all over Asu, even though Asu had some moments here and there. But Manel Kape really just got that job done. And from the onset, you can kind of just tell that this was either going to be a Manel Kape shutout or he was eventually going to get Asu Amabayev out of there. In the second round, I think the output and the some of the stuff that Asu was doing was a lot more better. He was landing a lot more shots to the body, to the head. Kind of getting a little bit tricky for Manel Kape, but Manel Kape was still pressing on, bringing the pressure, doing what he was doing in the first round. So some of the shots that was landing by Asu to Manel wasn't having any type of effect on Manel, so it was kind of like for nothing, really. But yeah, then you go into the third round. There was a couple of eye pokes here and there that could have gone Asu's way, honestly, if we're being very honest about it. But it didn't. So it didn't really matter because the ref didn't see it, so it didn't really stop it. So Manel Kape then in the third round just starts to turn on the heat, starts to bring on the pressure, and just starts literally running down Asu Amabayev, who's running away for his life, seemingly in this fight, as you can see pictured above. And Manel Kape, man, just does what he usually does. Hurts Asu Amabayev, has him, again, literally running for his damn life. Gets him out of there in the third round, gets a nice TKO victory for himself in the rankings against a guy that kind of didn't want to go against anybody else as of right now because how dominant he can be, especially on the ground with the grappling. He can be a damn problem to deal with. But Manel Kape shuts his shit down pretty easily as well, too. But I expect Alma to get this, have it as a learning experience for him and his career to be able to move on and get better. But Manel Kape, there's rumors that Kara France is going to be fighting Alexander Petrosha for the belt. But Manel Kape looks a lot better than what Kara France did. He just got that one KO against Steve Urseg, and then now he's already fighting for the belt. You got Manel Kape on a 2-fight win streak, on a TKO win streak, and he's been styling on dudes in the rankings in flyweight. I don't know. But for sure, 100%, the next time that Manel Kape should be fighting out there should be for a belt or for sure for a number one contendership against the guy that he was originally supposed to be facing off against tonight, Brandon Royval. 100% needs to happen. Obviously, like this video. If you obviously like this video, comment your opinions on this UFC card that we had here tonight in the Apex event. And subscribe, UFC fans. I'm here throughout the entirety of the year. You know I bring that consistency. I bring that type of love and energy that you need. And I got it for you. You got it for me, baby. Thank you guys again for watching again, and peace.